Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pinnacle podcast series where we'll be dissecting the PGL Major coming up in Antwerp very soon. And now we'll be talking about the Nordic teams. It seems like there's a little bit of an uprising coming in. You've got three very strong ones now in the Legend Series. You've also got Astralis trailing a little bit far behind in the Challengers. So we've got some very interesting teams kind of maybe now having a chance that the bigger teams, the ones that are considered to be untouched, have also fallen a little bit from grace. So let's start things off. Obviously, I want to hear your thoughts. We've got two Swedish legends in the room, so it's only right we kind of start off with NIP. So I see both Golden and Heaton smiling. So I'm wondering who I go to first. So I'm going to go with Heaton first, and then I'll switch over to Golden.
Well, I think Golden mentioned it before. Brolan moving from Fnatic to NIP, which I think is great pickup. I think together with Res, he's the best player, maybe even better than Res, and more stable in Sweden. So it's a great pickup for NIP. But I'm a diehard NIP fan. I have it tattooed here. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't see them making it out of Legend stage in case they have easy tag opping on the T side. I don't see it because it's the lackluster. His CT opping is fine because it's fairly easy and he's stable with it. But the way they're approaching the T side NIP at the moment, even though they have all this firepower, Rest and Brolan, etc., is they're waiting for easy tag, who's not a experienced opper. Opping on the T side is completely different from the CT side, and they're waiting for him to make a move, and they're just standing there. He doesn't want to make a move, and I'm telling you, this is bound for failure. They're not gonna make it out of Legend stage to play off in case they're playing him on the T side. I would like to see him go back playing 5 rifles because it's been like this watching them. I watch every game they play, and this is. Oh my god, it's really bad. It's really bad. So unless we see Device back, I don't want to see them using it off on T side because they're not going to make it through.
Yeah, before we move to Golden, I think Adam's got a point on S-Tag to make.
So it's funny you mentioned that specifically, Heaton, because there was an interview with S-Tag when he was opping for Heroic years ago, where the interviewer said, "Are you guys hoping to pick up an opper?" And he said, "I'm the opper now." And it was so telling that the perception around the community was, hey, you're just doing it as a stand-in until Yugi gets repicked up or somebody else gets brought in. But his perception was, no, I can do this, I'm capable. So it's an interesting dynamic. I don't know if we'll get more insight into that, because I completely agree with you. I don't think it's a natural fit. Opping on T side is one of the hardest things to do, to get that opening pick. The angles are so tricky to know. So I am very questionable specifically about that role entering.
And Golden?
Okay, I'll just touch on a bit on the opping thing on easy tag, and I'll tell my opinions on the other stuff. If you look at NIP, their best map is Inferno, and on the T side, on Inferno, you actually don't need to have an opper. You should only pick up the op when you get the chance to take the other enemy's team op. You should never buy an op, because it is, unless in the beginning of the round you can do 2 moves. It's either peeking banana, doing a peeking into pool from banana on the T side, and then the other one is holding mid with an op, so the other team doesn't get a free pick onto slope. And those are the only 2 things. And also if you play against an opper that is really aggressive as CT, then you should have an op to counter that. But if you look at their best map, like Inferno, for example, I know they like it a lot, and they also love Ancient. And you don't actually need to have the op there as much. Maybe Overpass Mirage is more needed, but other than that, I don't think it's that big of an issue as we think it is for them, perhaps. Because now they got when they got Brolan, they're the spacing of the map control they take, or how much map control they take, is immense, and you can see how much it activates everyone else on the team when Brolan does this super aggressive moves. He finds this one-way smoke, he flashes through himself through a smoke or just behind the wall. All those small things that he's doing and it's a great pickup, as Heaton said. That activates the other members of the NIP team. Like Rez can be a turret more now. Like he doesn't need to go in and find that duel. He needs to be the one who traced that duel that the first guy took. And that's where like if Rez gets the first one, he will get the next one. And from there, like you either win the entire round or Rez goes huge and takes 2 more down, and then now he has 4 kills. Like that's how he's playing. Like he's been also feeling more comfortable. Like Rez has always had a good aim, but now you can see when he plays with confidence, it's intuition that comes into play when he's playing. So the aim is just assisting him to do what his intuition is saying, and it's so nice to see because he's how many years have you not spoken about Rez being this mechanically skilled player that he's the next big thing in Sweden, and like he was and he is now as well. Like he's just been more consistent, and with Brolan and Plopsky and Hampus and EasyTag, like his team trusts him as the opper, and I think that is enough. For okay, from outside we look at it, maybe that is not the right choice, but if his teammates are comfortable with it, then there's no thing holding them back mentally. I really believe that these guys like get some this is a team where they get some momentum, and you have really hard hitters in that team. Like with momentum, I don't think like it's gonna be super difficult to stop any of them. When Rez has a good game, god damn, it drops like 35 or 30. What are you gonna do against that? You're holding that angle and Rez just like peeks you and then you die. Okay, next round.
I love the hope that you're giving to the Swedish fan base right now. I mean,
I'm gonna actually. I agree with what Golden says, but I still disagree because the reason is when EasyTag has the op on the T side, we don't see Brolan making those plays, you know, in the same way because he's waiting on EasyTag to get the entry. You see that on Overpass, Mirage, especially, just like you said, Ancients and Inferno, totally different ball game. But on those maps where you kind of expect the opper to go first,
yeah, Inferno.
Yeah, exactly. That's because you don't see Brolan or even Rez, you know, taking the ground. Even Hampus do that quite a lot. You don't see them doing that because they're waiting on EasyTag, who's not comfortable on the T side. He's doing a great job on the C side opping, but on the T side, they're kind of expecting him to do it like Device did or even as Fusi did. But he's not, because he's not comfortable yet. I mean, it's quite a few weeks until they play again in 1 week. I don't see that changing. So I would like to see EasyTag is doing great with rifles. I would just, in my opinion, remove it from the T side and then just have him play on the CT side where he's doing great. Even Rest is doing a good opping job on the CT side. Then I would definitely see them qualifying and doing a good job here, even maybe making it to the finals or semifinals. But yeah, I don't see it happening if he's going to op on the T side, especially on maps where you're kind of waiting for them to, you know, for an opper to get the first move, counter pick their op or something. I don't see it happening. Unfortunately, I'm a diehard fan, but it's,
yeah,
I don't see it.
Sorry.
Okay.
Then I have a question for you.
Yep.
What if EasyTag didn't op? How would that make a difference in terms of map control? Because EasyTag is not the one who's actually initiating the map control at all, or not going the first guy in.
He is. I mean, yeah, if you look at Mirage and on Overpass, for example, they're waiting on him to make a move with op, but it's going so slow, and the other guys they're chilling back. I love what you say about Brolan, because he's probably the best guy I know to take map control and etc. I mean, Ancient going up highway or whatever you call it. I mean, it's tremendous to see. He's getting all those map control himself. But we don't see them doing that because they're expecting EasyTag to do something. At least if you look at the last couple of games they played. I mean, it's a short sample, but it's also a short sample period where EasyTag has been opping. So, I mean, we have to assume that's the way. But you don't see him taking enough map control. Obviously, they could fix it, but if they play in the same way they have the last couple of games, I mean, if you watch the game versus Astralis in Blast, it was one of the worst games I've ever seen from 10 years of NIP. Yeah, on the T side.
Yeah, sorry, my question was more if EasyTag went to rifling as you meant, right? And if you went to rifling, would it change how Brolan would take the map control?
I would assume so. Yeah, I would
Okay.
definitely assume so. I would expect him to play just like you mentioned, because he's incredible at it. And EasyTag is also, I mean, he's a great support player, and I think
Yeah.
he could set Brolan and Res up a lot more than he's doing when he's just standing there opping, because his role changes as well. He's really good at a role, but now they're putting in a role where he doesn't look comfortable doing it. And it feels like it's forced on the T side. CT side is doing great, but and I would like to utilize EasyTag a lot more on the T side. And I think he's setting up great plays. And we have heavy hitters like Res and Brolan. Why not utilize? You have one of the best support players in the game. Set the players up, for God's sake. Utilize what you have in your bag.
Yep, and I also want to just like another addition to NIP is their coach, DGL. Like I know him. He comes from my city as well. We have the same hometown, and honestly, it's a super good addition. Addition to the team. I feel like DGL expresses his mind more than prior coaches they've had in an IP. And he also takes in control, and he holds people more accountable. Listen, this is not good. The team wants you to play a bit this way. Maybe you should reconsider doing this play, or whatever it may be. He's doing a great job, and I just want to give him a shout out. Really good job seeing him doing well so early, as not a new position for him, but still.
Yeah,
and
I totally agree with that.
Can we get a coach MVP market?
We definitely got to. I feel like we need to kind of move the conversation along a bit, because I think there's also some teams like the Danish teams that are kind of brought in that are kind of like a massive contention here. Right, we kind of also got the teams like Copenhagen Flames, for example, who have been, ever since the previous major, they've kind of been absent. Right, we kind of saw them, okay, they came out of nowhere, and now all of a sudden they're in the legend stage. Excuse me, what? So yeah, sorry to kind of like get out of that.
No, you're good.
But I'm wondering here, what are your thoughts surrounding Adam? I'm sure you kind of maybe got some odds to share in regards of Copenhagen Flames, or something that may give us an idea of what we can expect from them regarding their recent performances.
So first of all, I have to say, a lot of the guys that I bet Counter-Strike and have been for years are Swedish. I would say a disproportionate amount. So they will be happy to hear the panel that we just had discussing NIP specifically. We get lots of NIP magic, NIP's back, easy for NIP comments going all the time. So no, I'm glad we spent more time there. Regarding Danish Counter-Strike, I mean, what is it? 20 players at this major are Danish. Clearly, they're having we're somewhat back, but I would say, so when we look at Heroic, Copenhagen Flames, and Astralis, all took very different paths to get here, and they have had very different narratives written around them through the COVID era. Copenhagen Flames come out of nowhere for the last PGL major. All of a sudden, it's how far can they go? And then all of a sudden, we see the other teams come alive. And where did they end up getting knocked out last time? I think it was at the top 16, right? I don't think they did anything after that. No. So again, that's great for them, but I don't have them circled as somebody that, if they do make it to a 2-2 stage and they're priced 50-50 with Vitality, I'm probably going to say the values with Vitality, even if you say, oh, maybe Vitality still has a communication issue, or Zywu's not a top 5 player at this event so far. Even if you find reasons to not go with Vitality, I think you still have more confidence in that team, given the experience and on the big stage. So Copenhagen Flames isn't specifically a team that I'm looking at right now. Heroic, again, similarly, like, I don't know, they like the semifinals the other day. What event was it? Maybe it was, I'm slipping on what event it was, but again, they just get 0-2'd, and it looked very similar to when they lost to G2 at the last PGL event. It's just, you guys are on a really good trajectory here, and then it's almost like you don't have the fight at the biggest level. When if you look at the pricing, it's very similar. It's close to the coin flip, but the results, the execution on those big days just falls flat. And I don't know enough about the internal workings of those teams to say why that happens, but for their value, Astralis is actually the team that I'm most excited about, not because they're necessarily going to go far, but because I think they have a very high skill ceiling with BlameF and Config, and maybe at the price they are, they're seen as a 3-to-1 dog consistently if they come up against a Navi, and then that's a value play, and that's what we're always looking for in betting circles. So no, Astralis is not the old Astralis. No, they're not back. I think they are a threat. And if again, we have to look, if you guys are looking at the betting markets, Copenhagen Flames is 20-to-1, so they're priced around like the big clan Vitalities. Heroic is what, 9? Or yeah, Heroic is 9-to-1. So again, Heroic, you say, yeah, if they're at 20-to-1, sure, that's a very obvious value play because of where they're starting, but they're already priced a few percentage points behind Cloud9 and Navi. Navi's 3.5. So that's, that's not a huge difference. And I'm not convinced that in a quarterfinal, semifinal berth that Heroic is where I want my money to be.
Interesting. Heaton, do you kind of see being on the same wavelength about the hype behind this Danish teams? Do you think Heroic may have a better chance, if you will?
Well, I mean, to get into it, I mean, this kind of breaks my heart, but Danish CS are far superior to Swedish at the moment, and we can see that considering how many players they have in the major. It's really sad for us Swedes. But if you look at it, Pablo, you and me, we talked about Copenhagen Flames a while back in the Pinnacle Cup here, that, I mean, they had this run in the major. They would have played amazingly well, fell towards NIP in the 2-2 bracket to qualify to quarterfinals. When you look at them, they've been, I mean, when they're playing those less important tournaments, they're kind of, how can you say, they're a good team, but they're not, something you would consider for major. If you look at RMR now, Copenhagen played perfect CS. I mean, they're all players on fire, just like Adam mentioned with Big Clan. It feels like their timing on where to peak in the individual, because it goes in like this. They're up here, and they always make it to the major. It feels like it's a different Copenhagen Flames we see compared to in the other tournaments. So I mean, it's a bit of a Cinderella story this time around as well if they can make it. But I have hopes that they can actually make it to playoffs this time, and because they played so well. Looking at Heroic, I mean, it's just like Adam said, they look like the best team in the world until you get to those important games. Then they start failing. It's almost like this Danish curse. You remember Astralis when they were, what were they called? TSM.
Oh,
yeah,
before Astralis, TSM.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that because they have the firepower. They play so well, and they get the quarterfinal or semi. Boom, they crash out 2-0. It's the same thing because Heroic has the potential to win the whole major. They're a good enough team, but I think they just have to work a little bit inside their head to get over those obstacles, because it's probably, I mean, it's getting a mental thing there. Because
if I may weigh in, if I may weigh in the Copenhagen Flames, though, I mean, you kind of said, okay, they've kind of played brilliantly in the IRMR. I don't think so. I mean, I mean, they played really well. Yes, I think they did what they were able to do. I didn't see anything special from them, though. I think I think I'm also in the bandwagon that, okay, maybe they got one of the easier groups. Also, they didn't really have the biggest. Getting into legend stage isn't something that I don't. I mean, yeah, okay, they deservedly got there. They got some 3 beautiful wins, and I just feel like they just came in, did what they were supposed to do. They just didn't fuck up, but essentially, and got there. I mean, yeah, okay, we're kind of talking about probably the best AWPer in the Danish scene, Nikodos also. So yeah, there's a lot there. But I still feel like Copenhagen Flames have got a long way to go. I've got an extra aspect to the gameplay. I think they need to prove to kind of see if they can beat your Navis, if you will.
Yeah, well, I agree. But if you look at them, the game they won versus NIP, I think, I mean, they demolished them. Really, they played so well, and NIP was playing pretty good actually during this RMR. I saw, just like I said, Nicolas is, I mean, he's insanely stable. He's just, like you mentioned, I think it was Golden, that you have the top 6, top 10 teams with the AWPer being stable. This is Mr. Stability, in my opinion. He doesn't miss the shots, and I think their whole team play is they're not the same team as we see compete in those smaller tournaments, because they come alive in a different way, utilizing each other, setting each other up for plays. I mean, I think, I mean, they put in 2 levels extra of gear when they're playing here. So I'm kind of disagree. I think they actually have a shot. I mean, I don't see them as a contender to win the major. I don't. But I
Okay.
see them probably. I mean, it's a good chance of them making it to playoffs.
Golden, can you bring some hopium to the Danes right now?
I mean, Copenhagen, like if you look at them, how they made their way through, it was, in my opinion, not the hardest way of some other teams had to encounter. They played Sinner, Sprout, and then they won 2-0 versus an IP. First map was overtime. Second map was like a rollover on overpass. But like I mean, it depends. I don't think they will make it that far, to be honest. But yeah, they're still they need more experience on the team.
What about Heroic?
I mean, Heroic is during the online era. They obviously performed really well. It's just now time for them to show that same performance, same thing on LAN, and when it matters the most at majors. Yeah, other than that, I have not much to add. Then they're good. They're like a contender for sure to like win the major. But they also have probably some problems they need to figure out with the win rounds when it matters the most.
Yeah.
And for Astralis, they've been playing really good lately. To be honest, like they played better than they have yet. Like the past 2 weeks have been their best CS yet with this roster.
Does really look like that. So, ladies and gents, there's a reason why we've called this episode the return of the Nordic teams. If you're Danish, if you're Swedish, if you're from another region in general and you just want to see your fellow sort of players kind of do well, now is your time to kind of cheer, get that hopium on, and maybe go throw in a few through favoritisms towards them. But yeah, that is it for the Return of the Nordics episode. Up next is a very, very interesting one. We'll be talking about who can actually win the freaking major. So make sure you tune in on that, because that's going to be really cool.